The President. We resume our debate on the GBA development. Dr. Julius Ho. Good morning, President. Uniting the executive authorities and the legislature to forge ahead with the development of the GBA, that's an excellent topic. I intended to speak yesterday, but thanks to the President, I became the first to speak this morning. So if I may quote from Chairman Mao Zedong's poem, the country's magnificent scenery, and in Guangdong province, there are plenty of electricity grids, and the economy has recovered. Hong Kong is an open economy. We would like to work together with concerted efforts to build the GBA, and such a pretty pearl in the Orient is the envy of the world. Donald Trump and Biden are weak, and EU lacks backbone. They chant empty slogans of human rights. All these are bygones. We must build prosperity, and the time is now. Now, even if you know the ancient Tang poetry well, then even if you don't know how to write poems, you can make better speeches. Now, when we started our reforms and opening, the world was skeptical, waiting to see our failure. But then we have persevered. We have done better and better. Although it is a complicated issue, it's an impossible mission, but still, we are able to achieve and succeed. The reason why China can succeed is because we are always willing to learn. We are in the southern part of China. We enjoy geographical advantage. In the past few years, we were a bit behind because we have lost time in commissioning consultancies for things that are obvious to us. Well, we have such advantages and strengths just near us, and we don't know how to grasp them. Well, yesterday we talked about that 2% fee for consultancies. In fact, the cost is not just the fee for consultancy. For every project, we spend about 8 to 10% on consultancies. Money is one thing. We have also lost time and opportunities. While other parties are proceeding, we have marked time. I am grateful to the Chief Executive for making a breakthrough in leading legislators who are all patriotic and who love Hong Kong to a visit in the GBA. If you can use the same tactics in in horse betting, I think you can achieve similar success. Now, we talk about light public housing. We can pave the way for the government. We hope the government can press ahead, and for importation of labor, it's okay. Now, for the mainland, they used to have a lot of strategies, and whatever works can be acceptable. Now, if we unite, I'm sure we can build Hong Kong into a metropolis for tomorrow. Now, we're not talking about a satellite city, rather a world-class city. We can use that concept. So it is like an expanded Chongying Street. We can even build a world-class United Nations regional headquarters. This will happen very soon. Thank you. Ms. Nexi Lam. Thank you, President. I want to thank Mr. Duncan CHIU for moving this motion. Last month, the chief executive led officials of the government and members of the council to visit mainland cities. We spent 4 days there, and it's the largest scale of this kind. And this is the first joint visit by executive authorities and the legislature under the improved electoral system and the implementation of principle of patriots administering Hong Kong. That was really beneficial interaction, and it had great significance. Looking back the past 5 years, the GBA development under the leadership of the central authorities and the concerted efforts of all three governments, the integration of economy and people's livelihood, etc., are now beginning to take shape, and we have seen new breakthroughs. This goes to show the systematic advantages of one country, two systems. We need to be innovative and break bottlenecks so that in one country, two systems, three jurisdictions, and three tax territories, we can turn all these differences into advantages so that when it comes to capital and people and resources, etc., there can be interflow. Talents is an important point in upgrading and transformation. The flow of people involves immigration policies of the three jurisdictions, and it involves mutual recognition of professional qualifications. Take technology industry as an example. It's not just the case in Hong Kong. Even in the mainland, they have manpower crunch in the design and R&D and of INT, etc. Even governments there have to work together to break the obstacles in the system, and we should also unify the professional qualifications there, like what Mr. Wong said. Now, professionals like accountants look forward to working in the GBA as well. And as for how we lower the threshold, we should implement trial schemes and see how people can practice across the border so that high value added industries, talents can move around in GBA easier. We can strengthen Hong Kong's position as a bridge and contribute to the modernization of the country. As regards training of local talents, some students have told me that while they agree that opportunities abound in GBA, they are not too sure, or they lack knowledge on the use of their professional status and knowledge in GBA. They may not be able to fit into the work culture of the GBA, so we have to face up to this problem. We should encourage cooperation between the government, the business sector, the academic, and also the business sector, so that young people can really apply what they learn in their career, so that what they learn here can be practical in their future career. We must work together. We should promote further involvement of Hong Kong in the development of GBA. We should reconcile the differences of our systems there. The government must have top leadership. The joint visit is a start. We have to further our communication next time. While I was not able to join the visit this time, I believe that this is just a beginning. I look forward to better implementation of one country, two systems so that we can have high quality development of GBA and we can scale new heights. Thank you.
Mr. Edmund Wong, President, many members mentioned the trip to the other cities of the GBA with the chief executive last week. I will not go into that in greater detail. Mr. Duncan CHIU's motion is on uniting the executive branch and the legislature to forge ahead with GBA development. So let me talk about the GBA. According to the outline development plan for the GBA, enhancing the professional services of the GBA, taking the GBA's services to international standards, these are the responsibilities of our professional services sector, and this is where our opportunities lie. We all know that I come from the accounting sector. We were the first to enter the mainland market. Back in the 1980s, we took part in the country's development. Yesterday, Dr. Wendy Hong and just then Ms. Nixie Lam mentioned that over many years of work, we still have problems. Top-level officials gave us the green light, but then at the low level, we ran into hurdles. Now, for Hong Kong accountants, they have an open mind about going to Qianhai in Shenzhen or to Nansha in Guangzhou. For those with the Chinese accounting qualifications, there are all kinds of concessions such as rents, cash grants, and other things. But then what holds Hong Kong accountants back from entering the mainland is that for Hong Kong accountants, it's hard for them to get the Chinese accountants qualifications. Tax rules and laws are different between the mainland and the Hong Kong. So the mainland does not fully recognize Hong Kong's accounting qualifications. I can understand that. Hong Kong accountants can apply for the national exams for certified accountants in the mainland. There are some exemptions, but there are differences in the exams in the mainland and in Hong Kong. So that's hard for Hong Kong accountants to get the mainland accounting qualification. Starting from 1992 up to now, that is the start of the system where Hong Kong accountants can take the mainland exams. Over 30 plus years, just hundreds of accountants got the qualifications. We have 40,000 accountants in Hong Kong, so that's 1% in total. Yesterday, Mr. Jeffrey Lam mentioned all kinds of hurdles that Hong Kong businesses ran into in the mainland, such as tax filing issues. This is where our opportunities are and where our responsibility lies. In recent years, I talked to the Guangdong accounting sector. They were happy and willing to strengthen collaboration with our accounting sector. They would very much want to see our accountants practice in the 9 cities of the GBA. They want to get us involved. They want to leverage our advantage in being aligned with international practices so that the 9 mainland cities of the GBA can go international in terms of accounting. To overcome the hurdle for Hong Kong accountants to obtain Chinese accounting qualifications, I hope the government can make a greater effort in talking to the mainland, push for a move. Can we learn from the lawyers' qualification exams? Can we set up a GBA accounting qualification exam? Accountants from Hong Kong who pass the exam can practice in the 9 mainland GBA cities so that they can serve as partners at the accounting firms, and they can actually even serve as senior accounting firms partners. That overcomes a hurdle for our local accountants. That way, our local accountants can play a greater role in the GBA development and integrate into national development. That way, promoting GBA development can go beyond a slogan and become practice. President so submit I support Mr. Duncan CHIU's motion. Members, at 10:30, we have the Chief Executive's interactive consultative Q&A session. If you wish to speak, please press the button quickly. That way, I can plan ahead and schedule things accordingly. Mr. Benson Look. Good morning, President. Let me first thank Mr. Duncan Chiu for his motion on uniting the executive branch and the legislature in forging ahead with the development of the GBA. President Xi Jinping delivered a speech on July 1st last year. He said, Hong Kong has a unique advantage. We have good conditions. There is much room for development. The central authorities gives its full support to us for seizing our country's opportunities and aligning with the 14th Five-Year Plan, the GBA development, and the Belt and Road, and the high-quality development. The central authorities also give us their full support in extensive and closer collaboration with other parts of the world so that those passionate and with a dream can come here and unleash their potential. The GBA is personally designed, devised, and personally driven by President Xi Jinping. This is a state-level strategy. This is something that demonstrates the one country, two systems in action. As the Chief Executive's election manifesto said, we need to explore and identify the opportunities in the GBA. We need to contribute to the dual circulation so that as our country gets in touch with other countries, we can serve as a bridge in the future. So the Chief Executive has put her money where his mouth is. He led government officials and legislative members to other cities of the GBA on a visit. During the visit, we went to a few cities and many government facilities and also industry leaders that contributed to efforts to integrate with the GBA. Over a decade of development, there were impressive developments in the GBA. We can learn so much from them. In Guangzhou, Foshan, Shenzhen, Dongguan, they are vastly different from what some people in Hong Kong thought they were like back in the 1990s. This visit will help us overcome a kind of arrogance we used to have, and we shouldn't also belittle ourselves. We should strive for reciprocal development of mutual benefit as we integrate into GBA and we complement one another's strengths. We also have to support our traditional industries, high-tech firms, and advanced service industry. That's how we can expand our capacity and expand our operations. That way, the GBA can become a leader in the world. This trip is also about uniting the executive branch and the legislature in taking forward the development of the GBA. It's a good demonstration. I hope the government can keep this up, organize more trips like this. There are three things where I want the government to play a more proactive role. First, in the future, we need regular visits to the GBA and other places in the world so that we can go into greater depth during the visit. Now, for principal officials, they can also take civil servants, teachers, students, business leaders, people from various sectors, experts to the GBA and other provinces. Doing that can help bring together the government, the academia, and the community. We can also have more frequent contacts with various stakeholders, and this can also help bring together young people and help them better learn about our country. This can help change some groundless perceptions of our people about the mainland. Now we have the government offices in Guangzhou. This establishment is only 20 or so people. That makes it hard to expand our services. In the long run, the government should consider expanding the GBA offices. In the 9 mainland cities of the GBA, we can set up liaison offices or other offices to support the Hong Kong residents and Hong Kong businesses there. Third, for the government, we can invite officials, industries, businesses, teachers and students from the GBA cities to come to Hong Kong. We tell them about our latest developments and ideas. That's how we can have exchanges and work together for mutual benefit. Next, Mr. Chu Kwok-kang. Thank you, President. First, I'm deeply grateful to Mr. Duncan Chiu for his motion, uniting the executive branch and the legislature in forging ahead with the development of the Greater Bay Area. On this front, the 14th Five-Year Plan has a chapter for Hong Kong and Macau, It pledges support for Hong Kong and Macau to engage in more exchanges with the mainland. We should implement one country, two systems, contribute as much as we can, bring together the legislature and the executive branch, actively integrate into national development, promote the high-quality development of the GBA. I'm from the education sector. So on this matter, I look at it from the education sector's perspective. How do we bring together the legislature and the executive branch when it comes to education? At various levels, Hong Kong should work with the GBA on more occasions, such as on innovation technology and popular science for all. On STEAM education, we should do in-depth studies and work together with the GBA in enhancing STEAM courses and the teaching materials. On I&T education in Hong Kong, we need new impetus. We should also promote exchanges and collaborations in foundational education. We should work together to achieve synergy and reap the benefits. Now, I turn to some shortcomings in our education. We're closing schools, reducing classes. Bearing the full brunt are those with poor school premises, with backward equipment, and in locations where it's hard for them to attract students. These unfavorable circumstances add to a vicious cycle. Even for very dedicated schools, they don't have $400 million to build schools to rival the better resourced schools. They don't have support from the Education Bureau. Once they don't have enrolled enough students, they are at risk of being closed, and they are confronted with unpalatable options, and it becomes a life or death issue for the schools. Is that fair to those schools? So I reflect on the fairness of education. For the executive branch and the legislature, what can the executive and the legislature play? I'm from the education sector. I have a role to explain to our community the needs of the education sector and rally public support. I also need to get schools, the government, and various sectors to work together so that we can provide a diverse and positive environment for schools. I need to monitor the government in safeguarding the rights for schools. I need to reflect the views of the sector as they are. I need to reflect their views. Mr. Chu, could you clip your phone to your lapel? We need to push for a fair education system. Can the Education Bureau listen to the stakeholders' views more and be more compassionate? We have a falling birth rate that's not unique to Hong Kong. It's a global issue. In some countries, they adopt different strategies to tackle the problem. Earlier, many mainland experts released a report on education and population in Hong Kong. There's a chapter on preschool education that deals with the shrinking population. The experts argued for childcare facilities for young children, shortening the learning hours for young students, also canceling certain exams, shortening the daily school hours for secondary students. In Japan, the government there helped some schools transform themselves into educational learning centers. Can we learn from these practices? These suggestions point to the crux of the matter. The education policy needs to go hand in hand with the population policy. In Hong Kong, our approach is simply to get rid of the problem, get it out of sight. We have disregarded the true meaning and the fairness of education. That's something we should reflect on. So submit.
Mr. Ambrose Lam, President, I speak in support of Mr. Duncan Chiu's original motion. Now, Shenzhen has spent 40 years to transform itself from a backward rural village to a leading I&T hub in the world. And it has also transformed itself into the financial center for the country. Now, we have witnessed Dongguan's transformation from a low-tech manufacturing industry to a high-tech one with eco-conservation made possible. Now, these significant transformation are great inspiration for us. Now, we are focusing on I&T development, and we want to integrate into the national development and the GBA development. There were a lot of opportunities in front of us. However, we failed to seize the opportunity, and we are now regretting. Now, in year 2008, the Hong Kong Polytechnics University launched the MyCar project. The technology was a frontier one. However, no one followed it through, and then it was sold to the US. Now, our research institutions rank among the first in the world. However, our pharmaceutical and poisons ordinance is so backward that it discriminates against our local products. The pharmaceutical products that we produced must be recognized by the European and US authority before it can be registered in Hong Kong. In the end, they were sold to overseas drug firms as well. Now, our drone startups were neglected, so now Shenzhen is the leader in the world. Now, the reason is that the Hong Kong government did not allow trial use of drones in Hong Kong. Now, I think there are two major issues here. First, we only look for short-term returns. There is no long-term investments in the industry. Now, we have drastically make the threshold for listing more stringent. As a result, the small players cannot get into the market. Now, we are not helping the startups to finance and make themselves larger. Now, we have seen a 15% drop in the number of startups listing in our market. Now, the GEM board is virtually non-existent. Now, the government is only talking, and the society is asking the government to solve the issue without any constructive ideas. Now, many important legislative amendments have been deferred for many years. Say, for example, the copyright amendment bill was only passed last year because of the black hat violence previously. Now, the Legislative Council is still scrutinizing the automated vehicle bill. However, last year, there were already 70 driverless taxis in Shenzhen. Now, if you refer to the LLC report since the reunification of Hong Kong, the 36 recommendations put forward by the LLC only saw 50% implemented or partially implemented. Now, for 12 recommendations, the government has been sitting on them for 10 years. Now, for some other recommendations, the government has been reluctant to implement them because of a minority of objecting voices. Now, why can't the governments be bolder? Now, our legislative amendments regime relies on the proactivity of the government. Many a times, Legislative Council members have been urging the government for a long time, but the government refuses to do that. So when eventually there is a draft bill, there are lots of mistakes and gaps. So this is very bad. I agree with Mr. Duncan CHIU that we have to unite the executive authorities and the legislature. I suggest that the collaboration should start at the stage of drafting bills. When the bill is to be drafted, council members should be invited to join the process rather than consulting members as the bill's committee stage. Now, I hope that the government can consider this so that we can speed up the legislative process, so that we can reform ourselves and better integrate into the GBA development. Thank you. Secretary for Constitutional and Mainland Affairs.
President, once again, I want to thank Mr. Duncan CHIU for moving this motion, and also members who have spoken on the topic. Members are very enthusiastic in sharing with us their experience in the GBA visit and how they're willing to unite with the executive to forge ahead with the development of the GBA. Members' views have been inspiring and valuable. They are willing to work in concert with the Guangdong province and the cities in GBA to promote high quality development of the GBA, and that lay a solid foundation for our further work. President Xi gave categorical support for Hong Kong at the 20th National Party Congress to develop the economy, improve livelihood, and maintain stability. Presidency demanded the further development of the GBA and support further integration with the country's overall development. During his inspection tour of Guangdong in April, Presidency pointed out that the GBA has important strategic position in the country's development, and that GBA should provide strategic support to the country's new pattern of development. It should be a model of high-quality development and be a leading region for China's path to modernization. President Xi to Guangdong serves as a guide for the further development of the SAR Guangdong province and city of GBA, and in line with the spirit of the 20th Party Congress, and the two sessions will dovetail with the national strategy to pursue high-quality development of the GBA. Under leadership of the CE, this term of government will, with the spirits of self-reliance and innovation, lead all sectors of Hong Kong to complement the strength and advantages of the GBA and also Guangdong province. We will lose no time in grasping the great opportunities. In March to February, after the full resumption of travel with the mainland, the SL government, together with Shenzhen and Guangdong, convened Shenzhen Hong Kong Cooperation Conference and Guangdong Hong Kong Cooperation Joint Conference to work in sync to press ahead high-quality cooperation and high-quality development of GBA. In March, the CE led a delegation to Macau to come to consensus with the Macau SAR to leverage the unique advantages under one country, two systems to strengthen cooperation to create greater impetus for high-quality development of GBA. And last month, the CE led a delegation to visit 4 mainland cities in GBA with very fruitful results. This visit marked 3 firsts. It marks the first joint visit made by the executive and also the legislature after the resumption of normal travel with the mainland, and it's also the first visit of this scale. It marks an important milestone of unity between the executive and the legislature to foster better development for Hong Kong. We enjoyed unprecedented harmonious interactions, and our involvement and participation showed the initiative and passion we have for integration in the country's overall development and also the establishment of GBA. Through this visit, the Hong Kong SAR, the Guangdong province, and cities in GBA build a strong consensus that will work together to make the development of the GBA more effective and efficient to contribute to the development of the country and the GBA. As the CE said to the media on returning, the visit was just a beginning. In future, the SL government will be bolder in innovation to promote the high-quality development of the GBA. The SL government is committed to building broader and high-level mutual access and connect. The objective is to allow important production factors such as people, goods, and capital to flow freely within the area so that people and enterprises can grasp the opportunities in the GBA to better leverage Hong Kong's advantage of enjoying strong support of the motherland and being closely connected to the world. The CE led the steering group on integration international development set up last year with the 3 secretaries of department as the vice chairman coordinate the work in our integration into the national development. The CA has already urged all secretaries to do 3 things well. First, research. Second, coordination. Third, implementation, and monitor progress. As regards research and development, the CA has already asked all policy bureaus to consult and gauge the views of different sectors and stakeholders to fully understand what they need in developing in the GBA to provide facilitation and support. There must be in-depth and relevant policy studies to form policy proposals to come up with proposals that can help Hong Kong people and enterprises to achieve a win-win situation in the GBA. We'll fully utilize our advantages under one country, two systems. Will also make good use of our network to allow GBA to go out, and we can attract enterprises and capital into Hong Kong and encourage enterprises to go out. Members commented on INT development, environmental protection, support for youth and arts, and also culture. We attach a lot of importance to these views. Later on, the Secretary for Innovation and Technology and the Undersecretary for Environment and Ecology will respond in detail under their respective portfolio. The views will also be relayed to the relevant policy bureaus for their follow-up and consideration. The close cooperation between the legislature and the executive in this term has started a new chapter under the principle of patriots. Administering Hong Kong will continue to have anti-chamber exchange sessions to promote beneficial interaction between the legislature and the executive. The CE is going to hold the first CE Interactive Exchange Q&A session this morning. Under the spirit of the 20th National People's Congress, we are going to exchange views with legislators from a macro and overall perspective so as to find out the right direction and objectives for our governance to and promote the modernization of the country so that we can unleash the power and value of patriots administering Hong Kong. And we have also announced a proposal to improve governance at district level so as to address the four hopes raised by the President for the SAR, and that is to improve our standard of governance, to enhance our development impetus, address people's problem, and ensure stability and harmony. I believe that with the strong support of the government, the SAR government can fully and faithfully and unswervingly implement one country, two systems, and the principle of patriots administering Hong Kong. The legislature and the executive must unite to build a better Hong Kong, to forge ahead with the development of the GBA, and to support the country's development into a strong nation, and to contribute to the rejuvenation of the grand Chinese nature. Thank you.
Secretary for Innovation, Technology and Industry. Madam Deputy, I thank Mr. Duncan CHIU for moving this motion so that the Council can have a discussion on how to promote better integration by Hong Kong into the national developments, and also to join in the high-quality developments in the GBA. Last month, I had the pleasure to join the visit delegation led by Mr. John Lee, the Chief Executive, together with other members. Now, we have been pondering what Hong Kong can do and how we can do that. Yesterday afternoon and this morning, I have listened to the brilliant speeches made by the members. I've learned a lot. Today, I would like to make use of this opportunity to share with you Hong Kong's INT development. So what can we learn from the success of the GBA, and also how can we be inspired by the development? Now, our development, INT development, must be evolved around economic developments and livelihood improvements. Now, one of the brilliant things about GBA development is the continuous support and encouragement for INT development. Whether it's be Tencent or BYD, these entrepreneurs have been working hard for decades, and in the end, they rose above their peers and became international leaders. Now, if we want to be the INT hub, we have to have our own industries with an edge, and we have to start now. We have to plan ahead. The 20th National Congress mentioned the focus on high-quality development. Now, we have to align with the national strategy. The important thing is we have to join in the efforts to achieve modernization of our industries and increase our capacity. Now, the blueprints issued last year mentioned about the collaborated development of the upper, middle stream, and lower stream of the I&T, and also new industrialization. Now, the government has launched a series of measures to implement these goals. Now, I give my heartfelt thanks to Council members for your understanding and your support. Now, we have to seize the opportunities, catch up with lost time, and catch up with developments and competitiveness. 25 years ago, Tencent seized the historical opportunity of the development of the Internet. That's why it became the giant it is today. Now, in the past 20 years, we have missed so many opportunities. So rather than regretting, we should seize the opportunity now and catch up. Now, today, we have emerged from chaos to stability and prosperity. Now, we have to develop AI, semiconductor development, and also Web3, and also life and health technology. All these areas are possible areas of development, of major developments in the future. It all depends on whether we can seize the opportunity. Now, history often repeats itself, but we can make a difference. We have to identify, we have to explore and seize all opportunities. Now, third, we have to be confident. Now, we see a difference between us and the GBA cities, but we cannot be too inconfident. In terms of I&T development, we have a lot of edges which our neighbors don't have. Last month, our I&T industry has participated in the invention exhibition in Geneva and the Geneva Expo. And also last week, we launched the Innovation Products Week. Now, I've participated in all these events together with I&T stakeholders. I've talked to many startups and I&T companies. I've found that many locally invented products have been commercialized locally. I encourage these players to explore the GBA area and tell good stories of Hong Kong. I also encourage organizers to invite Legislative Council members to these events so that members can better understand our I&T ecosystem and better help the industry to thrive. Now, in the past, we mainly focused on upstream research. Now, we have a few top 100 universities in the world. Now, we are moving our focus to the middle and downstream players as well. Now, I believe that in the future, we will have the best universities in the world and also the best I&T ecosystem in the world. I believe that Hong Kong will definitely become a star in the GBA in terms of I&T. Madam Deputy and members, GBA development has brought about unprecedented I&T development opportunities to Hong Kong. According to the Innovative Index in 2022, Hong Kong, Shenzhen, and Guangzhou I&T cluster has ranked the second in the world. Now, it shows the unlimited potential in the GBA, and there will be significant synergy to be tapped. I look forward to working together, joining hands with members and the Hong Kong people to write a new chapter for our I&T industry and also contribute to the high-quality developments of the country and the GBA. I so submit.
Undersecretary for Environment and Ecology. Madam Deputy, I thank Mr. Duncan for his motion. I also thank the other members for their helpful comments on the environment and ecology. The 14th Five-Year Plan shows our country's focus on protecting our ecology and environment. To support national plans and developments, the HKSAR government will further step up cooperation with other cities of the Greater Bay Area on driving high-quality economic development and ensuring high standards in safeguarding our ecology and the environment. To contribute to our national dual carbon targets, the government is working to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050 and slash our carbon emissions to half the 2005 level by 2035. The Environment and Ecology Bureau set up the Office of Climate Change and Carbon Neutrality in January this year to better coordinate and implement deep decarbonization. New technologies play a crucial role in driving low-carbon transformation. On low-carbon development, the government will continue to work with the mainland, especially the GBA, in stepping up exchanges and cooperation on building low-carbon communities, developing decarbonization technologies, and promoting low-carbon product. We look forward to working with other GBA cities in complementing one another in technology, resources, and the market as we join hands in creating green and livable cities. On green transport, the chief executive and electrical members visited Shenzhen's new energy automaker BYD. They learned about the latest developments in the mainland's new energy and high-tech firms. They also experienced Sky Shuttle, a new energy rail transit system. The government is working to implement the measures under the Hong Kong roadmap on the popularization of electric vehicles. We want to make good use of the opportunities brought by developments in new energy and electric vehicle technologies in the GBA as a way to create a favorable environment for promoting new energy and electric vehicles in Hong Kong. On conservation, the government is always committed to protecting our precious ecosystem. The chief executive and electrical members visited the Huayang Lake Wetland Park during their GBA trip. There, they learned about the experience of the city of Dongguan in ecological conservation and management of water pollution. The government will make an active effort to take forward ecological conservation in the GBA to create ecological protection barriers. We will step up cooperation on ecological conservation in the GBA by, for example, protecting the wetland of Deep Bay and creating an ecological corridor between Hong Kong and Shenzhen through joint effort. Now, on sewage treatment. During the trip, electrical members visited the Lijiao sewage treatment plant in Guangzhou. There, members learned about the design concept of combining sewage treatment works with landscape greening. The advanced sewage treatment technology and concept there are especially vital for our green effort. At new sewage treatment works of the Drainage Services Department, the concept of making good use of land resources through landscaping has been applied. One example is the enhancement works for the Kuntong sewage pumping station, where they have a park. The Environmental Protection Department has actively combined green efforts with technology. For example, the tea park was set up to process sludge with cutting-edge technology for power generation. We will further enhance future exchanges between Guangdong and Hong Kong to create a sustainable future for the GBA. Madam Deputy, the Environment and Ecology Bureau and its departments have learned a lot from the trip. We will keep working with the other GBA cities in stepping up liaison on the environment and ecology and explore opportunities for collaboration. This way, we can fully integrate into national development and join hands in promoting green living and high-quality development in the GBA. I so submit.
Mr. Duncan Chiu, you still have 2 minutes and 20 seconds to reply, then the debate will come to a close. Mr. Duncan Chiu. Thank you, Madam Deputy. Once again, I thank the Council Presidents for agreeing to extend the debate time for this motion, so that's 65 members could speak on what we have felt and learned after the visits to GBA. A lot of brilliant suggestions on joining the GBA high-quality developments have been put forward. We have also listened to the speeches made by the 3 principal officials. There are 2 confirmations I have recognized. First, as mentioned by members and principal officials, in the new term of the Legislative Council, the positive interplay between the executive authorities and the legislature is recognized. It confirms that after the implementation of the Patriots Administering Hong Kong principle, everyone here is a patriot willing to contribute to the development. And the second confirmation is the importance of the GBA and the infinite prospect. I believe this is a consensus. Now, despite the huge and unlimited prospect ahead, there is still a lot of room for improvement. Members mentioned about administrative hurdles and also compared with the speed of mainland authorities, we are moving too slowly. Now, I hope that in terms of innovative measures, we can collaborate better with the government and also interdepartmental issues can be addressed. Now, we have to make the best use of the commissioner on GBA and also the leading group and the task force and so on, and also the steering group on integration into the country's developments. There is still much work to do ahead. Now, besides attending council meetings, council members are also working very hard to promote Hong Kong's integration into GBA development. So we have to give full play to our advantage. Now, the Secretary mentioned study and implementation. So can more council members be invited to join the study stage of policies? Thank you so much. I implore members to support my motion. I now put the question to you that Mr. Duncan Chiu's motion be passed. With those in favor, please raise their hands. Those against, please raise their hands. I think the question is agreed by a majority of each of the two groups of members present, that is, those returned by the election committee and those returned by functional constituencies and geographical constituencies. I declare the motion passed. The Council will now adjourn, and the interactive session will begin at 10:30 a.m. The Council will resume immediately after the close of the interactive session.